What's going on, guys? This is Kaishro. Welcome back. So we are back with another video. So in this video, we're going to cover my ban list prediction for April 2025 OCG limit regulation that will be dropping this 4th week of March. So we are going to conclude our January 2025 format. So imagine that a quarter of our year has been passed already, and we are going to unravel the second quarter of the OCG limit regulation of 2025. So I do predict that we will be having a huge ban list because we are going to have a new product coming soon, namely the Deck Build Justice Hunters and also the Duelist Advance. So those two sets will be very integral towards the shape of our metagame for the rest of 2025, and I really do predict that we are going to have some major changes to promote new products and also sort the metagame into a healthy manner, no? So without further ado, let's start. Starting off first, you do have ban section. First off, Bar Statue of the Torrent. The Water Bar Statue is my first option to be banned in our prediction video because I do think that as much as the Mermail Atlantean has been kinda mid, no, in terms of success, it is a meta deck, but it's not overly powerful or stupidly broken. I just think that the Water Bar Statue is one of the major concerns that we currently have in this metagame. If the Mermaid Atlantean establishes their board with the statue, is pretty much FTK once you don't have any water monsters or you don't have any normal summon that could go through past the Bar Statue. And on top of that, they have a board that is implemented with negates and interruptions, no? So it's really hard to out the Bar Statue if you haven't drawn Dark Ruler no more, Droplet, no, for example, and other removals. So I just think that similar to Fluandries, which had a similar issue with the Windbar Statue that was eventually banned back in the day, no? I think it could still happen right now for the Mermaid Atlantean, so that we cannot really be punished with the FTK shenanigans of Waterlock. Next, we do have Artifact Site. I think this has been also a problem for the couple of formats already. A lot of decks are going to the lengths of playing Dagda and Sight on their main deck to abuse the Sight lock, and it disables extra deck plays from your opponent and ultimately rattles the meta decks in this metagame, especially Malice, Ryzil, and other top tier decks are abusing the Sanctum and Sight package. So I think it could get hit as well, considering that it is very unhealthy when going to game 2 and 3. Once we get hit with Sight, I think we are left with little to none counter plays to go through the Sight luck, no? So I think it could get hit, especially Ryzil is the number 1 deck in this metagame, and they are the main culprit of utilizing the Sight because they can just always set the Sight even if they draw the Sight, and they can just pop it with Detonator, no? So yeah, moving on next to the Appaloosa Both the Goddess. So this is a trajectory that the TCG have been going into. They are banning the generic negates, omni negates on the game, and I do think that it's a very good way to balance out the format, especially the overly explosive combo decks that can go into Baron de Fleur, Appaloosa, and almost all of their interruptions are solely based on negations and omni negates, no? So I think it's really unhealthy, and if we haven't drawn any cards that could stop them from snowballing out of control, they would end on 7, 8, 9 negates and interruptions on their board, similar to the powerful Malice, no? And other top tier decks that relies on Appaloosa and makes Appaloosa sometimes on their end board. So I think it could happen as well on the OCG, assuming that Konami OCG will take the similar route towards the balancing of TCG side of things. Next, we do have Link Decoder. I may get various opinions and a lot of criticisms for this, but I really do think that Link Decoder is one of the cards that you can address to mitigate the Malice problem. I think Link Decoder has been a very broken card from the moment that it was released. It is a Link 1 and a really powerful generic cyber support and allows us to link climb faster and Malice as well. Link Decoder offers them plethora of advantages. It can be a way to play around imperm and extend their board, and also start with almost ridiculous advantages on their banish and field already. So it's really hard to navigate the Malice if they can play around Huntress perfectly with the Link Decoder. And I think Malice is a deck that is kinda balanced, but they have a lot of extensions from the cyber side of things that allows them to be really explosive and really consistent, no? Like the recent at Ignister support that they have gotten, indirect support rather. So I think, yeah, Konami could really go towards the route of eliminating those extensions and providers of the link shenanigans for Malice via limiting and annihilating the cyber supports that they can utilize on their deck. Next, we do have Summon Limit, by far the most played Floodgate deck in late 2024. I think Summon Limit has been around since 9 months already on majority of the side decks of most people. Blue Eyes Primite, and even Ryzil, no, Malice Orcus, and Memento Atlan, Christian, almost all of the meta decks are capitalizing on Summon Limit, because why not? Once you set up your board, you have high attack monsters, you have Omni Negates, you have Negates, you got interruptions, and you top things off with Summon Limit, limiting your opponent into only 2 summons per turn. You are guaranteed to be in a very commanding position, and Summon Limit is not a healthy card. Almost all of the combo decks can utilize the Summon Limit. I really do believe that Summon Limit is tailored for control decks like Eldish, no, Subterror, Labyrinth, for example. But the problem is they are not the decks that are tapping with Summon Limit. They are not benefiting from Summon Limit because other decks just have too much raw power, too much explosiveness, and too much interruptions that can they offer on their board, and they have Summon Limit to literally floodgate the game and win from the moment that they have flipped Summon Limit, and it's really unhealthy. And I just think that Summon Limit has to go. I mean, TCG Master Duel have done it already, so I think OCG could follow the same path. And moving on towards our limited to 1, we have a bunch of cards here. This looks like a wish list, but I really do have some good thought process on these cards. First would be Ice Ryzil. This would be the number 1 way to hit the consistency of Ryzil. They have plethora of starters. They do have Ascension, they do have the Stakyon, they do have Small World, and they can run almost technically 2 pot cards, Desires and Prosperity, no? And sometimes a lot of Ryzils can complement their consistency with Upstart and Talent and Trust. So I just believe that Ryzil is a modern Zodiac deck that is beyond levels of consistency, power. The consistency is unmatched. I think that's the bigger issue for Ryzil. Even though X is at 1, Bonfire is at 1, Tachyon is at 2, they are still very consistent, and they are massively more consistent over the rest of the meta decks out there. And I just think that if you want to play the most consistent deck available, you should go with Ryzil, and a lot of people have understand that situation, and they're capitalizing on Ryzil. I mean, as far as we have seen on the previous events, Campus League tournaments, City Duel Indonesia, and China mainland tournaments, and the recent Asia 3-on-3 as well, and the recent Battle Nexus from Southeast Asian regions. Now Ryzil has been one of the most consistent, if not the most consistent, topping deck on the top 16 cut. So I just believe that Ryzil needs to go right now in order to promote the Yami Dragontail and the K9 of the upcoming deck build pack. But the saving grace for Ryzil is the deck build crossover breakers was just released from Asian English set. So there could be a timeline where they are not massively nerfed or hit, no, in this coming ban list. But I really do predict that Konami will push the agenda of selling the Justice Hunters and the new meta decks archetypes from that set. And next would be Primate, another Beryl. So this could be pretty controversial. It lands on a gray area where it depends on the perception of player whether Primate Blue Eyes is a threat to them or Primate Blue Eyes is a balanced deck for them. But I do think that if they left the Blue Eyes Primate untouched with the upcoming ban list, it could be the best deck in the upcoming format, and I just think that Beryl to 1 could halt the consistency of Blue Eyes Primate and also disables the Primate engine to be splashed into Finsmith Azamina and other toolbox engine decks that utilizes the Beryl as a Link 1 fodder and also starter for the Primate plays, no? And we all know how Drill Beam can be so broken on certain situations. I mean, it just protects your board, interrupts the opponent, negates, and everything. It is so absurdly powerful. So we just need a card that can be the sacrificial lamb to halt the power of the Primate engine altogether. Next would be Dimension Shifter. The first thing that came into my mind was the Exorcister Tactical Try deck that was announced few days ago, and Shifter is only at 1 on the set, on the box, no? So it gave me a firm idea that Konami should try to make the Shifter go into the limited into 1 section because they have put it only at 1 copy on the deck, and potentially Shifter has been a far more problem towards the decks like Orcus, no, for example, and Blue Eyes Primate and other graveyard-centric decks like White Forest, Azamina, and Snake Eyes, no. So Shifter, very broken card if your deck doesn't really care about Shifter. But there's a timeline where it doesn't get hit because Exorcister is coming very soon to us, so they can let Shifter go into another format or two and let Exorcister utilize the very powerful mechanic of Shifter towards their graveyard hate deck. Next would be LZ. So I think White Forest is still a deck that can go untouched this coming ban list. But I do have some keen observation that even though they hit some of the integral cards of a lore main storyline deck, no, eventually they are going to make another engine that will make the deck function similar to the things that they have done to Branded. They have hit the Branded opening from before, no, and they just throw Quem, Cartesia, Bestials, freaking new Alba supports, no. So it doesn't matter. I think White Forest can still play around those intricacies if they get more new support, and I do think that the timeline and storyline is not finished yet. But for now, I would want to see LZ go into 1 just to lessen the power scaling of White Forest in terms of their consistency, because if they get new support, it will be inevitably going to be so broken, and they have gotten already 5 sets of support already, no? So yeah, I think LZ could be the sacrificial lamb for the White Forest in order to tone a little bit of their power but still make them pretty strong, no, on the upcoming sets. And next would be Sprite Elf. This is more of a wish list rather than a prediction. I really do think that Elf is the only card on the Branded storyline that is still banned on the ban list. I mean, they have released the Branded opening, they have released other stuff like the Sword Soul Emergence, no, for example, from before, and Sprite Elf is the only card that was banned, and I just believe that it is still going to be pivotal for some decks like Sprite Tri Brigade, no, and other level 2 decks like Sprite, for example, and Melfi. All of those level 2 decks can utilize the Sprite Elf that they badly need because they are doing absolutely nothing. As much as I love Tri Brigade Sprite to perform, it is not the deck to pick in this current metagame, and it is a very bad deck at this moment. So I just think that they really need some sort of buff to make them resilient and play around certain hand traps and extend furthermore with the Sprite Elf. Next we do have Zodiac Broad Bull. I think this is the card that the Zodiac really needs in order for them to perform on the top level. They have gotten some boost recently. They have gotten Tenki back to 3 and Raiden back again, no? But it's not enough for me. They really need Broad Bull. I think it could make or break the Zodiac, even though Zodiac is a deck that is filled with PTSD of many people. They really believe on their mind that Zodiac is one of the most broken archetypes that have been ever printed in this game. So I think a lot of people doesn't want this to happen, but come on guys, I mean Ryzel have been so powerful. We have seen it on our own eyes what modern Zodiac looks like. So I think it's about time to let Broad Bull go at least into 1. Next we do have Malice in Underground. I think this is really beneficial for Malice, considering that I have predicted that Decoder will go into 0, and they have gotten Malice into Underground into 1. I think the deck is still very playable, and it could still incorporate some cyber stuff or boost the consistency with Signet Mining, Allure, no, Gold Sark, and other stuff like Small World, for example, no. So I just think that Malice in the Underground is one of the cards that really improves the resiliency of Malice, and I just think that those cards are very unhealthy for a already top tier contender deck, and Underground could go into 1 on my own assumption if they still want to let Malice get more new support on the following sets or gain new Cybers shenanigans on the following sets, no. I think it could still work, but we just badly need to lessen the overall resiliency of Malice because it's just so broken. If you don't really draw Lancea and other cards that may stop the Malice from snowballing out of control, I think it is one of the most explosive decks and most punching end boards that you could ever face in this metagame. Moving on next, towards our R2, limited to 2 section. We have only 4 cards here, Sprite Jet, another faction towards the improvement of Sprite and level 2 decks, and Melfi, Tri Brigade, Sprite Tri Brigade, and other level 2 rank 2 decks, no, that could capitalize on Jet. And I think Sprite is a deck that really badly needs a support to let them be playable in 2025. I mean, Sprite has been a terror last 2023, but things are very much different now. So yeah, I think Jet could go into 2. Next we do have Malice Dormouse. I think this hit is just another slap on the wrist for Malice. Even though I have predicted that Decoder will go into 0 and Underground will go into 1, I think Dormouse into 2 is pretty much fair. I think this is the most logical way of hitting Dormouse without ever killing the Malice archetype as a whole. So yeah, I think Dormouse into 2 could be very rational and very logical here. And next we do have Sleepy Memory going into 2. I mean, purely badly needs help as well. Those cute cats are really left behind from this advancement of really powerful, more consistent decks than ever. So yeah, Sleepy Memory could boost the draw power of purely, make their turn 1 board really powerful, and draw into the cards that they really need when going second if they want to draw hand traps or board breakers like Dark Ruler No More, no, or things like the Blackcoat Luffs on the main deck for the purely. Next we do have the last card of our R2, Emergency. So R2 Emergency could definitely help the Rescue Ace. I mean, Rescue Ace will also get the new Tactical Tri deck, and they could probably get some love this coming ban list with Emergency going to 2, letting the Rescue Ace be more versatile when going second, allowing them to play through such boards, and also overall improving the consistency of Rescue Ace, because I really don't think that they will release Rescue Ace with Finsmith and Sinful Spoils and Azamina on one Tactical Tri deck along with the Promethean Princess, no, for example, and Raging Phoenix and Zilliantis. The Tactical Tri deck would be so absurd, so valuable. So I just think that they would uplift the Rescue Ace engine itself by either going Emergency into 2 or Airlifter goes back into 3. So yeah, I think Rescue Ace could be getting some new support as well from the previous pattern of Tactical Tri decks. They have gotten support for Eldritch, Light Twin, and also the Cyber Dragon. So I expect the same for the Rescue Ace and Exorcister to be getting more new support sooner than later. Moving on towards our R3, I think these are the more nonsensical, non-relevant, not really impactful cards on this metagame, except for one that I'm going to cover later. But first, we do have Masterpiece goes back into 3. I think the True Draco with Monarch could be something else in the upcoming Duod or Duels Advance, where True Draco can capitalize on the Monarch cards and play through them without the extra deck, of course, and also be a powerful control deck. Going first, shuts down the extra deck, the special summons, and controls the tempo with the True Draco cards, no? So Masterpiece could go back into 3. I think I don't have any problems with it going back into 3. And next we have Herald of Orange Light. I mean, Drytron is not even the deck that made Herald go back into 1. It's not even them. It's not the Fairy decks. It is just Tearlaments and Izuzu that is the main culprit of making Herald of Orange Light into 1. And I do think that Herald of Orange Light could not really break the Voices Voice and other Fairy decks out here. I think it will be just a direct support for the Drytron, that an archetype that struggles really bad, follows Mulcharmy, Purulya, and Maxi. Oh my goodness, with the Impulse, Dominus cards. How can you even breathe as a Drytron player, no? Imagine the length of going through the playthrough against Dominus cards, Charmies, Maxino. Is visibly impossible to play through those hand traps, and I really do think that they need Herald of the Orange Light just to have a de facto gamma, no, to answer those hand traps going first or probably even going second on this Herald of the Orange Light. Next to the Morphing Jar, I think it doesn't matter. This card is older than me, probably, and it doesn't really make sense to play this card anymore. It's really power creep, and it was broken 20 years ago or so, no? But it's not even relevant right now. It could go back into 3, and unless they are some mad genius that is smarter than Albert Einstein, that could make a deck revolves around Morphing Jar to be broken, I think it will not happen in this modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Anytime soon. So Morphing Jar goes back into 3. And next we do have Zodiac Trident. I mean, we have seen Pure Power Ryzeel, Full Power Ryzeel, and it's like the modern version of Zodiac, no? I mean, with Detonator existing in this game, why not Trident go back into 3? I mean, Detonator is a far more broken version of Trident than the Trident itself, the original Detonator of Zodiac, no? So, yeah, I think we should push the agenda of making Zodiac viable again so that other players that is a fan of that format will go back into the game and invest on a Zodiac and probably explore some new ways of playing Zodiac, making Zodiac be more diverse on this metagame, playing through Ryzeel engine, for example, no, or making Zodiac as a go second, Zeus Turbo deck, or a Zodiac that is a very powerful control deck like before last 2021, where they rely on Book of Moon and Solemn Strike with the help of Trident on their board. So yeah, moving on next to the Dragoon goes back into 3. I think the only deck that could capitalize Dragoon on 3 would be the Eldritch and Subterror and other extra decks like Labyrinth, no? I think Dragoon is a very powerful card on its own, but it's really hard to pull off. Aside from the things like Branded and other fusion decks that could cheat out the Dragoon, but it's really suboptimal to do that, and those decks are not even an issue right now, and I just really want to see Eldritch Dragoon back again and Subterror Dragoon back again, and probably Invoke Dragoon in the metagame, no? So I would want to see the 2020-ish, 2021, early 2021 decks fare against the 2025 decks in this timeline. And the last card that could matter on our Banis prediction for Unlimited Archery section would be E-Tele, Emergency Teleport. This could be a really powerful tool to make the Psychic archetypes viable again. And we are getting plethora of supports for Psychic cards this coming Duod Duelist Advance. And I really do predict that Teleport could go into 3 if they want to push that set, and Psychic decks and other decks that utilizes the Psychic monsters like Punk, for example, no, Kashtira, and stuff like the good stuff, no? I think it is a blessing for them to have teleport back into 3. I mean, it's a true guide, quick play, and it's someone from the deck. So it's really powerful for them, and it allows them to bait out Ash, for example, no? Or play through the boards of your meta deck opponents. So yeah, Itele goes back into 3 on my prediction. So yeah, that sums up my balance prediction for April 2025 limit regulation in OCG. So let me know your thoughts, guys, about this prediction of mine, and if I miss out cards on this list, let me know in the comment section below. So thank you for watching. If you found this video informative and helpful, please consider subscribing. It definitely motivates me a lot to keep providing this content for you guys. So once again, thank you for watching. See you on the next one. Peace.